Hi there! Today we're going to make these forged and twisted earrings. So let's get hammering. To make these we need 2mm diameter copper wire, which is 14 gauge, 2 ear hooks and 2 jumprings. And the tools we need are bell making or round nose pliers, chain or flat nose pliers, a hammer and block, a file, a torch, solder block and pickle, drill or hole punch, and polishing tools. We're starting with 2 pieces of the 2mm wire, one for each earring, 1.5 inches or 3.8 centimetres long. And for this end we want to create a point. So we want to hammer that end third of the wire and just keep rotating as we go, just to reduce the thickness of the wire and bring it to a bit of a point at the end. It doesn't have to be perfect at this stage, but it's worth just getting that point started through hammering. I've been using my raising hammer for this, so I'll just switch to my planishing hammer to take out some of those hammer marks. And do the same with the other wire. Now, as you can see, we've managed to reduce it down a fair way. And then we can pop the wire in our vise and refine that shape and take out the rest of the hammer marks with the file. So we'll just file carefully around that wire and bring the end to a nice point. Now, we don't want this to be too sharp, but just make sure that point's rounded off a little bit at the end. And if we need to get a bit better access up the wire, we can take it out of the vise and just finish that filing by hand. And that's the lower end of the wire done, and we're ready to start on the upper end. Before we flatten out this end, we just want to get that wire straightened back up again, so we can use our rawhide mallet whilst rotating the wire. And then we'll start flattening out that end. And again, we want to flatten this to about 1/3 up. So we'll just keep hammering until we've got a nice flat shape at the end there. And it tapers back to the round wire. Do the same with the other wire. And then we can use a file to refine that shape, round it off a little bit at the corners, and make a gentle curve at the top. And we want to try and make both wires as similar as possible with this. Then we're going to put a hole in this end. So we can just mark it off with a permanent pen. Then use a centre punch to create a small divot where the hole's going to go. Then we can either make the hole using a drill, or we can use one of these hole punches. You just need to get the wire in the right place and then twist the punch down to create the hole. Once there's no more resistance, the hole's punched through and we can just unscrew that back out again. Either method can just push some of the metal through to the back, so we can just use the file again to take that off. And we're ready to make the twist. The wire's now work hardened from that hammering and filing, so before we go any further, we can anneal it. I'm just going to use my small torch for this. It'll take a little bit longer, but it does the job. And we just want to heat all the way along the wire. to reach a nice soft glow. Once we've got that on the first wire, we can move over to the second wire and anneal that as well. And I'm just going to let these cool and then pickle them to clean them up a bit. When these earrings are finished, we want them to sit so that top will be sitting front to back. So we'll position the wire in our bell making pliers or round nose pliers with that flat piece of the top flat to the curve. Then we want to bend the wire in the middle. Even though I've annealed this, it's still quite tough, but we can make the bend eventually. And bend it so the two ends are more or less touching. Then we're going to hammer that bend that we've just made. We don't need to go too far up the wire. It really is just that bend. And we just want to flatten it out a bit. I think that's enough. And do the same with the other wire. And then we want to anneal them again. Just heat them up till they glow. Let them cool. And pickle them to clean them up. Now we're ready to make the twist itself. And I'm positioning these opposite hand so the tops are on the inside of those curves. Then to make the twist, we want to hold the wire with our bell making pliers or round nose pliers at the bottom of that curve and carefully bend the top of the wire upwards about 90 degrees. And it's worth bearing in mind that where we're holding the wire is going to be the front of the earring. So then we can turn the wire round in the pliers and bend the bottom part of the wire down. So we should have a shape like this. Then we're going to do the same with the second wire, making sure we're bending it in the right direction so it's a mirror of the first. Then we can just check them from all angles to make sure that curve looks the same on both earrings. Now we could leave them like this, but I'm just going to shape them a little bit more by bending those wires inwards a little. And then curving them a bit. This is entirely personal preference on the shaping, but I just like that extra little bit of detail. And now we just need to polish them up. I'm going to start with a fairly rough grit silicone burr. And this just helps to get any remaining hammer marks or scratches out of the surface. We'll then move on to finer grits. And I quite like these 3M wheels. And we'll just continue to a fine grade so they're nice and shiny. Then we just need to add a jump ring through that hole that we made. Add the ear hook. And our earrings are finished. If you enjoyed this video, why not head to this playlist for more hammered projects. Thanks for watching and I'll see you soon.